Hello, Manish Sethi here. It's day 17, and I am preparing for a TEDx talk that I'm giving on Saturday. I'm right now in Detroit, Michigan, and here is the first version. You're one of the first few people to hear the TEDx talk that I'll be giving. So if you'd like to check it out, check it out. I'd love your feedback. This is V1, slides are changing, blah, blah, blah. But the story is kind of fixed, so I'm happy to change it. If you have any advice or information or anything you think is broken or any parts that you got bored in, please comment and let me know. See ya. Hello, everybody. My name is Manish Sethi. I'm the founder and inventor of Pavlok, and today I'm going to be telling the story of money. My presentation is called Money, the Greatest Story Ever Told. 7 million years ago, the human species evolved. And for almost 7 million years, we've never lived in tribes of larger than 150 people. But something changed about 10,000 years ago. Something changed that combined us from small groups to one giant civilization, all sharing the same world. What was it that changed? It was the power of story. You see, when we invented language, the king no longer had to be in the room to still be the king. There are 3 stories that have shaped the history of civilization, and I want to tell you about these stories. The first story is this: what others tell you is true is true. This is a story that includes empire, it includes law, it includes government. All of these are concepts that don't really exist, but they assert rules upon you that punish you if you don't follow them. The second story is the story of what you believe is true is true. Now, this is the power of unfalsifiable beliefs. The story includes religion, but it's also the story of I could never travel to that unsafe country, or I could never stop eating carbs, or I could never throw away all my goods and live in the wilderness. It's the stories that we tell ourselves that are completely unfalsifiable, that can never be contradicted, because these are the stories that frame the world. They are the ways that they're how we see the world through our own eyes. Now, these 2 stories, for over 7,000 years, these 2 stories, the stories of empire, the stories of belief, led to the creation of agriculture, the creation of city-states, of buildings, of wars, of the Great Pyramids. These stories enabled disparate decentralized groups of humans to grow much larger than our biological limit of 150. But a new story arrived less than 3,000 years ago. A new story that didn't just increase the size of the individual tribes, but actually united all of these tribes together. This is the third story that shaped humanity. This is the greatest story ever told. This is the story of money. Now let's briefly review. The first story is what others tell you is true is true. The second story is what you believe that others believe what you believe is true is true. The third story is money. It's what you believe that other people believe is true is true. It's trust. Money is the world's first universal, depersonalized means of trust. It allows individuals from different tribes, from different languages, from different worlds to communicate and interact with one another. It even allows enemies, in a lot of ways, to become friends. And the story still persists heavily till today. Think about it. Imagine going to a cafe in a foreign country. Why would the barista ever give you food or wine? The barista doesn't know you. If you're in Stockholm or Paris, the barista probably doesn't even like you. But both you and the barista believe in a little piece of paper with dead people on it. So without ever even speaking the same language, you're able to get the wine that you want. You believe that the barista believes that that piece of paper is true. But that story I just told you is a little bit of an exaggeration, maybe even a little bit of a lie. Why? Well, how often do you actually use paper money? I want you right now to raise your hands if you use your credit card or your debit card more often than you use cash. Almost everybody. Cash money over the last 50 years has rapidly devolved in use and in existence. It's now less than half of 1% of the world's money supply. It's no longer in God we trust, but it's in Visa that we trust. And right now, I want to show you that world's money supply. Things have changed rapidly, especially in 1971 when we went off the gold standard. There no longer was actually a physical reason for what that piece of paper meant. But ever since then, it started to explode. And I want to show you now the current status of the world's money supply. So here, that square you see right here is worth $100 billion. I want to show you the money in markets throughout the world right now. So here you can see the world's largest companies. Here's Microsoft, here's Alphabet, here's Apple. Here are the 50 richest people in the world. And here is all of the printed currency that exists in the entire world. About 7.6 trillion US dollars. Take a look at the actual number of real US dollars right here. Compare that to the 50 richest people. The 50 richest people in the world have more wealth than all of the US dollars, coins, and banknotes in circulation in the world. Now here are the world's stock markets. It's quite a lot larger. And when you think about it, what are stock markets? Here you can see that the world's valuation is about $73 trillion in the world stock markets. That's about 10 times higher than the coins and banknotes that exist. What does it mean when a stock exists? The day before Snapchat goes public and the day after Snapchat goes public, is there really 25 billion more dollars in the world? Where does it come from? And where did it go? Here, you can see debt. This is the total amount of debt, including all from corporations, governments, and households. It comes out to about $215 trillion. Something interesting is that about 33% of that, $70 trillion, were added in just the last decade alone. That means debt was added as an asset in just the last decade, almost as much as the entire world's stock markets. But these numbers seem very large, but they pale in comparison to the largest creator of wealth in the modern world, the derivative. If you haven't heard of a derivative, if you think of a stock purchase as a bet that the price of the stock will go up, a derivative is a bet on the bet of that price. It's a double bet on where the future will go. It's often known as a warrant, a future, an option, a swap. And I want to show you the current status of the world's derivatives. Just to reiterate, this is all of the currency that exists in the whole world. And this is derivatives. That's right. Still going. Almost there. We've reached the end. $1.2 quadrillion of capital that isn't even there at all. And now you might be feeling scared or confused or angry. You might be feeling worried or fearful. But I'm hoping that you don't feel that way. Once I explain what this means, I hope that you'll feel empowered, hopeful, and ready to take on this change and help change the world. You see, it definitely feels like the rich are getting richer and the poor are staying poor. And from one angle, from the number of dollars angle, that's absolutely true. When new wealth is created, more money does flow to the top. And the people who have zero continue to have zero. But it's not completely due to evil or greed. It's due also to mathematics. It's how compound interest works. Because the money isn't really there, it's created. When you get a paycheck, do you actually receive dollar bills or coins or gold bullion? No, you receive digital transfers of digital points from one account to another account that sort of maybe exist if you try to grab it. But it's how compound interest works. But at the same time, my peers graduated from college at the height of the financial crisis. Most were unable to find a job. They began to complain it just wasn't fair. It just isn't fair. It just isn't fair right now. But they were complaining from their parents' basements, where they drank clean water, where they watched Netflix, where they had access to all the world's information at their hand, where they had an air-conditioned room when they used and they pooped on toilets, living richer than the richest king of even 50 years ago lived, much less all of the kings over the last 7 million years have lived. The story of money, as the story of money exploded, the story definitely increased the inequality from the haves and have-nots. But the rising tide raised all ships as well. Okay. It feels like we live in a world of scarcity. It feels like we live in a world where when the rich get richer, the poor get poorer. Sorry, guys. It feels like the rich get richer. It feels like we live in a world where the poor gets poorer. The truth is we live in a world of abundance. There's more than enough food to go around, but we throw away half of it. There's more than enough wealth to go around. The problem is not money. The problem is distribution. And this brings us to the future of money. Let's jump back a couple slides really briefly. This was all the printed money in the world. This was the size of derivatives. But this is Bitcoin. Bitcoin represents the first version of the story of trust that isn't governed by gold or by governments or by religions or by banks. It's the first story of trust that's governed by technology. If money is a story, and finally, if now anyone can create money, then in the future, the best story will win. I would like to propose a new story. A story that's based on abundance, not scarcity. A story that's based not on the 1%, but for the 100%. A story that's based not for the individual, but for the collective. I'm the founder of Pavlok. At our company, our goal is to help people break bad habits, form good ones, and become the person that they want to become. In today's world, far more people are obese and overweight than are people who are hungry. The hard part is sticking through with our goals. About a year ago, we introduced the world's first behavioral currency, volts. Users can track their habits, and they're rewarded for doing good ones. When users commit to doing a new habit, like following through with their gratitude journal, for example, users earn even more simply by sticking through with it. When everyone succeeds, everyone wins. Right now, we get paid for doing what others want us to do. With Volts, you get paid for doing the things you want yourself to do. Our vision is to create a universal cryptocurrency where anyone, rich or poor, American or African, will be paid the equivalent of $30,000 a year just for sticking through with their daily goals. Imagine a world like that, where everyone earns a working wage and a living wage for sticking through with the things that they say they will. Is this the world that you'd want to live in? If so, I'd like you to please stand up right now. I'm humbled to see how many of you can see the vision that I see. This is the world that I want to live in. And this is the world I believe we can create. A world for everyone. Now, in order for a story to be real, it has to be understood, believed, and told. Is this a story that you feel inspired? If this is a story that you feel inspired to tell, please go to pavlok.com/volts. You'll learn how they work. You'll learn how you can earn them and how you can share this story and become a part of this future. Together, we can change the story from one, not from scarcity, but to abundance. Together, we can change the story from the 1%, from not from the 1%, but to the 100%. Together, we can change the story from the individual to the collective. And together we can create a new greatest story ever told. Thank you very much.